Morrisons sales are down year on year, roughly in line with the market. And it's no surprise the market's down. Why not? Well, this time last year, nobody was eating out and about in pubs and restaurants and cafes. And all that sort of out-of-home sector is slowly reopening up. So the volumes are starting to shift away from the supermarkets. But don't think that that bubble has burst on what has been a very buoyant sector in the last year. Because when you compare against 2019, so pre-pandemic, in the latest 12 weeks, sales are actually up £3.3 billion on that 2019 number. So it's still a pretty healthy place to be.
It really is, isn't it? I mean, put the Morrisons performance for me into context, Fraser, if you would, please. I mean, over the last 3 years, there has been a significant operational turnaround.
Yeah, so Morrisons had a really long run of underperforming in the market. And just over a year ago, they turned that around and ever since have been ahead of the market every single 4 weeks when we have released these updates. Now, Morrisons, I think, primarily have been right-sized for the conditions we found ourselves in of COVID. So the stores are not too large, but they're not too small, and they're local enough that people are still willing to travel to them. On top of that, I think they've done some really great things over that time as well. They're one of the few supermarkets still pushing the multi-buy promotion that seems to have fallen out of favour as many retailers look to move more to an operating model like discounters. But shoppers, and some shoppers, do like promotions. They do like wandering down the aisles and being excited and being urged to try and buy new things and perhaps buy those few more items in the basket. And that's where Morrisons have had a point of difference. And many supermarkets look the same. So a point of difference is good.
Yeah, very interesting looking at your till roll data today. The other members of the Big Four, Tesco, Sainsbury's and Asda, they have all put on market share during the last year.
Yeah, so they're starting to reclaim back a little bit of what they lost to the convenience channel. You remember early lockdown last year, people weren't really leaving the house. They were just walking to their local small shop and starting to reclaim a little bit back from online as well, because online market share has remained stable this month against May. So it's no longer growing at the same rate it was. And in fact, year on year, it's barely growing at all. So we've reached a new plateau for online. And all that leaves space for those big supermarkets to grow. Of course, most of them are growing through their online sales. That's the main growth driver. And just some of them have managed to get more people in through the stores.
So who are these gains at the expense of? Independents, I presume, but it also looks like Co-op's struggling a bit.
This isn't unexpected. Co-op in particular had a bumper last year, and independent stores too. So I don't think those businesses are going to be surprised. But they will be trying to make plans to hold on to as many of those gains as they possibly can. And like I said previously about the total market, they are still considerably up on 2 years ago. So it's not like it's a disaster for them. But the discounters have started on that march back. So both Aldi and Lidl, the story of the last decade really has been them making inroads into the UK grocery market. They've started taking market share again. And in fact, Aldi have reached 8.2% of the market, which is matching their highest ever market share achieved in March last year. So I think that story is going to start coming back on in the next few months.
We keep hearing a lot about some of these fast delivery startups, the likes of Getir and Dija and Wheezy and so forth. Are they posing any kind of threat as yet to the multiples?
I think it's very, very early days. Remarkably few shoppers have actually tried those services yet because, of course, they're geographically limited. They're limited to urban areas where it makes sense, and they're probably limited to people who are likely to try those kind of services, which tend to be the younger shopper and tend to be a more affluent shopper who's willing to pay the delivery charges. But the market that they're going after is huge. So over £40 billion a year are spent on grocery baskets that are less than £25. So even if they manage to only grab a small part of that, then that's a very large market. And it's not just the startups, so the likes of Gorillas and Getir and Wheezy, but also Tesco have got in on the act now, and Ocado have had a long-running service called Zoom as well. It's very interesting to see how that's going to pan out over the next few years.